Stepping from our ordinary world into the fantastical, Immersive XP explores the weird and wonderful imaginations behind a diverse range of themed experiences. From virtual reality to escape rooms to live-action roleplay, nothing is off the table. We'll take a deep dive into what makes these adventures worth attending and which ones to avoid. Join me on a journey to explore the extraordinary and meet the people who make dreams a reality. Hello and welcome to another episode of Immersive XP. I'm Taylor Ford, your non-binary host, based in Southern California. Seamstress by trade, silly little guy by trauma. Favorite snack? Roasted chestnuts. Fun fact of the week. The first recorded live-action roleplay game goes to a not-so-distant past of 1977. Dragger here began in Washington, D.C. with inspiration from Lord of the Rings to create battles using boffer, or foam-padded, weaponry. What makes this game unique compared to other LARPs across the world? There's no use of magic within the combat mechanics. While many people will claim that this is more of a battle game than a LARP, I argue that most live events where you are pretending to be a person you're not is a live-action roleplay, various degrees. This week's episode is a lore lesson. This time, we won't be talking to someone else. It will just be me, info dumping what I know about LARP so you and your friends can be better prepared for your first experience. Like many in the community, I grew up as a theater kid and got into immersive events and murder mystery parties. I've now been LARPing for almost a decade and hope that I can pass on some wisdom to new adventurers. You may wonder, what exactly is live-action roleplay? Well, this term can be used broadly to cover multiple genres and styles of gameplay. The important things to note is that there is an element of pretending to be someone you're not, and there are game mechanics or rules of play. While live combat and using weapons or magic is a common part of many LARPs, that's not always the case. Some games like Vampire the Masquerade has a rock-paper-scissors battle system rather than live combat. Others have no combat at all and consist of just improv roleplay as your character. Things like murder mystery parties are not often thought of as LARPs, but definitely have similar elements because you are pretending to be a patron at a party solving a crime. For more established LARPs, they often have full rulebooks just like playing board games. Some are inspired by pre-existing worlds like Game of Thrones or The Witcher, while most have created original worlds for players to explore and learn. The size of LARPs can vary from a dozen to thousands of people. The LARP I attend has an average of 400 players. If the concept of LARP sounds like a fun time to you, here's some advice for a longtime LARPer to those just wanting to start out. Finding the right LARP that fits your wants is likely going to be the hardest part. While word of mouth is the most common way to find a LARP near you, resources like larpfinder.com will allow you to look at LARPs of different common genres like fantasy, vampire, horror, etc. You can also discover LARPs based on location. I know many people will drive many hours or even go to other states and countries to play at LARPs that are worth the experience. Personally, when looking for LARPs to join, I find ones that can avoid combat since I'm not much of a fighter. I also look for games that I can actively play with my friends and meet new people. Other important things to look out for. How expensive is the LARP? Keep in mind the cost and how often you'll want to play. Not only should the cost of the event itself be considered, but the cost of costuming, weapons, food, and other necessary resources should be in mind. LARP can be a time-consuming and expensive hobby, so don't tempt yourself by attending if you can't afford it. Check in on cancellation policies, too. No one should attend games sick, and real-world problems should come first. Make sure there is always a way to refund tickets or change the ticket to another date. How often are LARP games? Some LARPs are one-shots, meaning they exist for a day or a week, but does not have a continuous storyline. Others may be a continuous story, where your characters can return. There are often benefits to returning, such as gaining experience points to spend on skills or gaining in-character items. Are there player resources if you want to join? Some LARPs have new player staff to help you through the process. They may have a Pinterest board for costume inspiration, rulebooks, online forums, or groups to discuss with other players and staff, and so on. How inclusive is the player base and staff running the event? Be on the lookout for groups that are open and welcoming. A lot of marginalized groups and people from all backgrounds often use LARP as an escapism from the outside world. Make sure that the community is going to be a welcome place, so your real-life problems do not become your fake world problems. How accessible is the location that the LARP is being held at? Make sure there are safety precautions involved and possible training. No matter who you are, safety comes first. Some LARPs have options if you are unable to do physical combat. It is best to discuss issues ahead of time with a game member if you have severe allergies or other physical concerns. Make sure to carefully read any waivers or resources. Bring up any issues first, or choose a different LARP if anything makes you uncomfortable. Some LARPs allow camping on site or may have accommodations nearby for multi-day events. A lot of LARPs will have specific requirements for allowed tents as to not ruin the immersion for other players, and also have safety protocols for cooking. Depending on the genre of LARP, not LARPs are going to be for everybody. There are going to be certain triggers that you might come across. I know personally I've had to step away from certain situations at a game that gave me an unexpected panic attack. LARP can be intense and feel very real at times. Keep your mental and emotional health in high priority. It's not just your physical health that needs to be kept in mind. Other safety recommendations I have from experience: check the weather forecast religiously before play. For cold games, make sure to have thermals, gloves, and anything else that will make you more comfortable. I have rechargeable hand warmers that I use, and it creates a lot less waste than the temporary ones. For hot weather, keep hydrated and know when to take a break. Don't keep going and risk getting yourself and others sick. Know your body's limits and stay way below it. Bring a first aid kit with you and have any extra medications that you need. Make sure you have someone who knows what to look out for and where your medication is located if needed. I am grateful for friends who have gotten me out of tough situations when I've had an episode. Bring a friend with you if you don't know anyone at the LARP. Make sure to check in on each other frequently. Don't do anything that makes you uncomfortable. A game should be a game. If you're not having fun, do not play. Safety should be top priority. Also, if you're making someone else uncomfortable, apologize and do not make excuses. Everyone makes mistakes, and things can be high tension in the stress of roleplay. Last but not least, LARP is not a replacement for therapy. If you're struggling with real-world emotional or mental concerns, it is okay not to play. Game is not the best place to bring out those issues. While I won't give specifics on how to create a character and what to choose, here are some things to keep in mind when choosing what to play.
Choose your hero.
Your first goal for making a character should be how they will interact with people in the world around them. While playing a stoic mystery of a character may sound cool, it's better on paper than it is in real life. It's hard to find companions who will want to interact with you if you give nothing in return. Your character doesn't need to be 100% likable, but they should at least be able to add something to the LARP. Keep character flaws in mind, rather than shutting yourself off from roleplay. While the idea of political intrigue in a game is appealing to a lot of people because of how fantasy shows depict them, it actually involves a lot of meetings. If you don't want your escapism LARP to be more of just what you do in real life, take a different thing to play. For those who want to play a heavy combat character, most LARPs don't have constant battle. You'll want to make sure to implement other hobbies and interests, so you're not bored when there's no combat. Above all, play something that you'll have fun doing. When it comes to costuming, things to keep in mind is there are a lot of LARPs that will have specific rules and regulations for certain historical costuming based ones, or they might just let you do whatever you'd like. When creating your first costume, you do not need to go above and beyond. Honestly, I recommend that people go with something simple to start off with. The main reason is, if you go something above and beyond, people have no idea you're a new player, and they think you know what you're doing. This has happened to a lot of people who just have amazing, stunning costumes right off the bat, and people don't include them in other things because they're like, they know what they're doing. You can find costumes from thrifting, asking people if they're going to be selling old costumes, and you can even modify them. You can even find local sellers or modify items that you can find online. While I won't always recommend to find an Amazon pirate costume, you can always upgrade and do better. It's really fun to look back and see where you started and how much you've grown from there. The easiest LARPs are going to be doing post-apocalyptic attire, and then it gets harder from there doing fantasy or cyberpunk. Make sure to look at pictures of what other people are doing to get inspiration on what you want. If you have friends who are going to be in a similar culture or race or however the LARP splits you off, even money-wise, make sure to talk to those people and get ideas and inspiration from them. They might be able to give you some good pointers on where to purchase items. Overall, safety and fun should be your top priority when joining a LARP. If you don't have one that suits your needs, there are new ones popping up all the time. You may just need a little patience. Until next time, crying over spilled milk is a reasonable response when that's all you'll ever have left. Check out our website, immersivexps.com, to join our free Ko-fi, which will have visuals and additional content of the immersive experiences discussed in each episode. If you are an immersive experience artist or creator, no matter how small, consider contacting us so you can take part on a future podcast. This podcast is recorded and produced by SoCal Podcast Studio in Orange County. Thanks for listening. I'm Taylor. I didn't even say hello. I have to say hello.